Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fully Supported. And this week we're talking about big stuff, like this terrain piece here from the Battle Arena, and this is part of the roof. Now, the original file I got here from Cripple God Foundry was actually pre supported, and the part did print fine, and I didn't have too many issues. But honestly, the reason I chose this part and I wanted to re support it a little bit is because I wanted to show you guys something. The angle that it's supported at, in my opinion, is a little bit slight. There's not much there going on at the bottom as far as angle. They're using good supporting. It's pretty much the same way I'm going to do it, but I chose to put it at a weird angle where you're going to kind of use it at a tall angle with a corner, but we're going to face as many of those blank faces towards where the supports are going to be more than anything else. For obvious reasons. We want to keep as much of the support away from, the actual design parts, the aesthetics, so that way it doesn't get damaged. The thing that most people get stuck on with big parts is the hollowing bit. So they're like, okay, well, what do I do first? Well, the first thing I'm going to recommend, this is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to support this part myself, is because the hollowing that they decided to do is a little bit. You got a nice big area of suction that's being created in the corner, and I'll show you guys later. That's not being. There's not any holes happening for a bit. It's about a good 20, 30 layers, and that's not a big deal usually, but on a big part where you're building like a big, and they chose to hollow with a slightly larger frame. So the thickness of the walls is a little bit thicker. I think when you're doing it with a big part like this, it matters a little bit how you're going to do your hollowing. So when I look at this, and I look at it from the orientation I have, I see the first point where we're going to need holes is going to be that corner there, or that first bit. So I'm going to take just 3 millimeter holes, and I'm just going to punch a row of holes, and I'm going to get a little OCD and try to keep them as uniform as possible, because honestly, if you're going to put a bunch of holes in something, at least make them look like they belong there. So yeah, big terrain part, hollowing thickness on my, usually I go with 1.6 millimeters, and I do quality 4. You can go a little thicker, 1.8, maybe 2. I don't like to go that thick though, because honestly you don't need it if you're hollowing the part. It's big, it's going to be pretty heavy anyway, and this is a roof. It's going to be sitting on top of everything else, so honestly you don't want it to be the heaviest part on the print. Okay, so now that we've got the drain holes where we want them, and they're going to work really well in this sense that you're going to get a lot of good drainage, aeration, etc. from that area, because you've got holes starting the print in the corner. The print's going to start in the corner. Everything else, honestly, all the other drain holes are not even necessary, but I add them for cleaning purposes. I put the extra drain holes in there so I can put UV inside the model to cure anything inside of it. I will use it to get to supports that are inside the model and stuff like that. So there are various reasons why you would want to do that with your drain holes, and why you'd want to make bigger ones throughout the middle of the model, so you can access the model from bigger ports essentially on the inside, and that gives you the ability to clean out supports, and like I said, cure resin on the inside that may not cure when you're using the standard curing methods. And that way, again, you it's just another, it's a good way to have it so you can clean it. That's the reason why they're there. The initial drain holes will actually be enough for everything to drain. Is it going to drain out all of its resin while it's printing? Not all of it. No, you're really going to want to hang this one upside down for a bit and let all the resin pool out, because it's gonna drip everywhere as soon as you turn that thing on its side. But you're going to get good aeration, and you're going to get good drain from these holes, and they're going to work and do their job, and you're going to have a good print. And essentially, this is going to be a good method to save yourself some material on this piece, and it's going to be a good method to get yourself a nice, good starting point. The reason this, in my opinion, will always print better is because you're starting with one point in the corner versus trying to start with a plane or like a shelf or like a line. And it tends to give you a better result when you do it that way. So I try to think about it that way in the sense of, okay, so what's the best orientation for a part like this? For me, it's pointing it as high as I can upwards, but using the sides that are not going to be really concerned because you don't really care. They're the flat sides. They're the sides that are going to contact each other. They're not going to be visible once the model is assembled. And even if it's something that you're making with like magnet points or something, you're not going to care if, there's holes in the sides when I disconnect it. Who cares? It's not a big deal. So, again, put as many drain holes as you can. Put them in the appropriate spots. Make sure that you're focusing on the corners. Make sure that you're focusing on the area that's going to start the print. And then make sure that you have, the drain holes in the right spot where they're not cutting through parts of the model. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and cut your drain holes out. And you can even cut them out and keep the caps if you want to. I don't usually do that when I'm doing stuff like this because, like I said, it's negligible parts of the model. And then from there, you're ready to support. Now, I know we talked about, there was a lot of times where I've talked about don't using auto supports, and we had an episode last week where I literally showed you how to fix auto supporting. But I'm going to show you how to use auto supporting to support the interior of a model without compromising your own quality of supports, however you want to do it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go over to your auto support tab. You're going to want to choose whatever side. In this case, I'm using mediums because it's a bit of a bigger part. And those are my medium settings right there. If you guys want to take note, they'll be in the description of the video as well. Then you're going to want to go ahead and just click that generate auto button and let them generate the auto supports. Now, what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to clean it up and we're going to remove the external auto supports. And we're only going to keep the ones that it has created on the inside of the model. And this is really just only to give us a little bit of a kickstart for the inside of the model, which is a little bit of a pain to do supporting on once you've done all the hollowing and remove the holes. And honestly, even if you're working with Lychee and you do the exterior interior views, it's still a little wonky. So this, in my opinion, does a really good job. There's a few spots where I usually need to go in and make sure the islands are supported as well as they need to be. And then other than that, it's usually pretty golden. So as you can see, the supporting on the outside is rubbish. It's not going to do a good enough job. Not enough coverage. But the supporting on the inside is fine. It's actually thicker. It's weird. And so, that'll do a decent job of doing that. We'll check all that too. So then what you're going to want to do is just select your groups of supports that you don't want. Obviously being careful not to select the ones that are poking out of the holes on the bottom, because I don't want to lose those. Those are connected to inner material there that is connected to the inside of the model, and yeah, we don't want to remove that. We want to remove just the stuff that is going to be exterior supporting that is on the bottom of the print. You can do that like this, like I'm doing in groups. I mean, you can really just do the painstaking of one at a time. I highly don't recommend doing that, otherwise you'll stab yourself with a mouse, which won't work. You'll just keep beating yourself with a mouse. Just don't do it. It's not a fun way to do it. Use the drag and select method. It's a little clumsy sometimes because you got to try and get the right view to really select what you want to select. But it does a lot better job than trying to do one at a time, trust me. So once you have all that swiped off and clean, we still have the interior supports. So all that's good and golden. We can use those. Awesome. Great. Then we need to move on to the actual supporting. Now, since this is square, rectangular, elongated, weird shaped object at the top, we're going to go ahead and use inline supports a lot. That's going to be a big thing we use. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by checking down where the initial points are going to be and where the first set of islands are going to be, which is the start of the print. You can see it's this tiny little corner here, and it's a very small pixel. I can add just one support there, I think, and it's going to let me kind of just, yeah, I might have to trail it. There we go. And I can add one support, and we can see, you know, it's not a big amount of material there starting. It's a really small amount of material, which is what I like. So we're going to put a couple mediums there, because this is going to build up the basis of the actual print itself. This is that corner. And then I'm going to do just little tiny mini anchor medium size that are just going to go from that, you know, from one of those supports down to another piece of the material. So now we have some really good coverage as this thing starts to build itself. And again, this is the initial point, so we want this to be really solid. So that is a total of 6 tips that are now making contact with that initial piece. So we can go ahead and start building some supports. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and slide up a little bit just so I can get a better look. And then we're going to continue making the frame of this using the medium supports. The reason I'm using mediums on this, again, is like I said, it's a bigger piece, and so over time this is going to get tall. It's also heavier, and it's going to do a little bit more pulling and stressing to the supports, and so I think a slightly larger tip and bar are actually needed for something like this. I try not to spread them too thick, or I try not to spread them too close together in most cases, so we don't really get a wall or we don't get fusing issues. And of course, we always check for proximity at the end anyway. Okay, so we're going to start using the inlines here and start creating a border around the basic shape, which in this case is mostly rectangular. And then we're going to use the painter to paint around the areas that are going to be a little bit more wavy. Now, as you see, we're placing a nice little structure of supports there. That is a row. I'm going to go ahead and add auto bracings to that just to give them a little extra durability. And oddly enough, it didn't want to place auto bracings on those couple of supports, which I thought was strange. But we'll just support them on the inside anyway later, so it's fine. Now, again, because it's leaning in 2 directions at the same time, you're going to want to put your supports on the bottom like this, and then you're going to want to put your supports on the other side of the angle. You really want to make sure that you spread the pressure on both sides, because there's going to be mass pulling on both sides. So when you do your supporting, make sure you have supporting on the side that's pulling from the bottom, and then make sure you have some support that's going to be pulling from the other side, like I'm doing here. And we'll go ahead and add another section and border off that as well. Again, I'm doing the border in my mediums, and I'm going to do a lot of the infilling with my light supports with some bracings, because usually enough for something like this. Once you have a nice heavy medium border and you have a nice heavy support start, the infill is actually kind of negligible. Sometimes you can live without it. I wouldn't recommend trying it, because you're just going to get a lot of warping, more than likely. But I mean, you never know. You could actually succeed that way. Maybe it'll print like this. No, I'm just kidding. Don't ever try and print something like that. That's not going to work. Not at all. So we're going to go ahead and move around this. We're going to create the rest of the inlines. I'm not going to speed this up, but I am not going to talk through this entire process as just watching me create inline supports. But pay attention to the pattern I'm trying to use here as I do the supporting on this part of the model. And I'll be back in a sec, and we'll talk about a little bit more of the process that we're going through in the next step. Alright, so here I'm just adding a little bit more support on the other side now. We've done the border on the bottom, and essentially that's going to be your most important part. And while I still need to do the filling in of like the actual supports that's going to go along the bottom portion, it could technically print like that. You're probably going to get some sagging issues along that flat area, but it could probably print. I mean, still some strong supporting, and it's definitely placed all around the edge of the object, which is what you need. Here I'm just going to paint up some supports on this side, create another border around here, and then we'll start doing some of the filling in so you folks can see how I do the rest of this. Again, I'm not going to speed any of this up. I'm just going to let you guys watch this and kind of see the way I do the fill in. Now, most of this is done with either the painter or inline. Now, lately I've been using the support projection tool, but I realized that that's not always the way to go, and sometimes the support projection tool does actually make the program move a little slow. It's very strange sometimes. It bogs it down. I don't know if it's doing something like a memory leak or something, but there are times where I'm using it and it definitely does not operate the way I feel like it should after I've done the supports through that module. So once you've got your border, like the whole border of supports on the side, on the bottom, and you're done there, really your next steps are just going to be filling in any additional supporting that you think needs to be behind all this border. So again, if you've got, particular things that you need to support in like a particular way, like if you're trying to protect detail on one particular side, obviously in this particular instance, what I'm showing you guys is that I'm using all the sides that it doesn't really matter. So I think, unless you're trying to do anything particular, I think doing this like this will actually work. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating some subsets here inside on this side, which again, this is going to be the non-pressured side, but I'm still going to put supports in here. These are lights, by the way. I've switched to lights. And these are going to fill in some of the area on the side of the print. And this will allow this side of the print to take some of the force, the peel forces, and these supports are going to help along the rest of it. Now again, I'm using inlines here. I use Support Painter a lot. Inlines are really handy, especially when you're working with flat surfaces like this, so I highly recommend it. If you don't know how to work an inline support, essentially you click a support on one end, you hold down the shift button while that support is still selected, drag your mouse down to the end where you want that line of supports to be, and then simply click again and it will create the entire row. It is a wonderfully amazing tool, and it has made my life so much easier when it comes time to do a lot of the pre-support work that we do. So once you have this angle here covered, we want to probably try to fill in this area here, and I'm just going to do inline supporting. I'm going to do rows, probably going either across or up and down, probably across, and we'll see how this works out. Now I'm going to go contact view here just for a sec so I can get a better view of what I'm looking at, and that'll help me kind of see where I need to place some of these smaller bits, and then I'll show you what it's going to start to look like as we get some of it established. And yeah, you'll see that in just a sec. I'll be right back. All right, so now, as I promised at the beginning, I was going to go back and show you folks the reason why I decided to change the holes, and the difference between the way that the different print starts. Mine, beautiful. You get all those holes right in the beginning, plenty of aeration and drainage, no problem, no suction going on there whatsoever. Now, if we look at the other one that was pre-supported, we will see the first hole is actually a decent distance away from where it's starting. So if we scale it up and we use the slider, we'll see there's a hole forming. There's another one over there, but there's a decent amount of space that's going to suction with no hole. And that's a decent amount of material there that has got to deal with all that peeling and the supports underneath it. Now, I'm not saying this is going to make it fail, and it actually didn't. But there was a little bit more excessive warping in that corner than there should be, and it probably due to that. Now, again, it's, I think more than likely the print is simply, they put the holes in where they feel the most optimum locations are. I don't know if they don't use the suction cup finder and stuff like that, which I did not use, but I don't really need to use it to show me that I don't have any suction cups on my print. They did a very, very heavy clustered internal supporting, very straight, no bracing for some reason on any of the internal supports. And then some of their external supports do have bracing, but most of the supports on the bottom do not. And they're layered in pretty good. Like it's a decent structure. like they're using similar size to the ones I'm using. Um, it's not a terrible way to support the print. It actually works. Again, I have a very good structure there. We're using a medium border, lights on the infill, and we have a decently framed structure for the interior supports as well. They're just not as clustered together straight up and down. My print is also going to be a little bit taller, but that's okay. We will, we'll deal with the time. It's not going to be that bad. Anyway, that is it for this episode. That is a large part, fully supported, fully ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and export this one. I'll let you guys watch the slice as we say goodbye on this week's episode. And I really appreciate all the viewers, all the new viewers, all the subs, comments. And like I said, we are going to have a contest where we are going to ask you guys to submit your ideas for a new character that we are going to create. We are going to model a new character like we did our Nuka-Cola girl. And we want the community's input as to what we're going to do. And again, if you are in the Florida, South Florida, West Palm Beach area, we are going to be at UltraCon this weekend, 25th, 26th, and 27th. Booth 1190. Print my mini. Mention the channel, and I'll give you a shake. I'll give you a handshake, or maybe a business card. I'm kidding. Okay, just mention the channel. We'll be sure to say hi, and we can take some selfies and stuff like that. Fun, usual social media things. Anyway, I hope to see some of you folks there if you can make it, if you are in the Florida area. If not, hey, we're probably going to travel to some other cons eventually, maybe in your area. Who knows? Like I was saying before, the contest is going to be, there's going to be three winners technically. You have your first winner who's actually going to get the model made, and then the two runners up are going to receive alternate prizes. The initial winner is going to receive both a physical print that we're going to create and print. It'll probably be one of the prototypes, and the two runners up will get the STL file so they can print it themselves for personal use as much as they like. So we thought that was a pretty cool idea. We posted the vote for the style, and eventually we're going to do some image posts to try to get some ideas as to when we finally pick a style, as to some characters you guys would like to see. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everyone. Hope to see you all again soon, and have a good one. Bye.